Hello, I'm Jonathan Baxendale, the Combined Seed Product Manager at Wynnstay. Thank you for joining us today. Unfortunately, our Arable Event hasn't happened, but what we wanted to bring to you is our virtual plot tours so we can showcase the varieties, keep you informed on key things to watch out for and go from there really. So with the weather we've had this year, the plots aren't looking as well as usual. We had the wet weather which started the end of September and pretty much went on till March. And then since then we have suffered with severe droughts across the UK. On the back of this, like I say, the plots don't look as well, but we did manage to get them drilled on October the 10th. So managed to get that little drilling opportunity to get them established and up and away. Onto the wheats, and first of all what we'll do is we'll go by category, so starting on the Group 1s and going all the way to the Group 4 hards. First of all, on the Group 1s, they're very popular in the UK, currently taking over 20% of the UK market share, and that is taken up by three varieties in particular, which are SKYFALL, CRUSOE and Zayat. So first of all, we've got SKYFALL on the Group 1 wheat, high yielding bread making wheat, good disease resistance, very stiff strawed, and what we've seen this year, it can really be pushed in terms of drilling dates, so we have seen it being drilled all the way up until the first week in March, but I expect it to be popular again this year. Next we have Zayat, which is the highest yielding Group 1 bread making wheat. Similar to SKYFALL, it's got very good disease resistance, good grain quality, but it doesn't have orange wheat blossomage, which SKYFALL does have. But out of the Group 1s, it will be SKYFALL and Zayat, which will probably be the varieties of choice. Then finally we have CRUSOE. CRUSOE, been around for a few years now, but it's still maintaining its popularity because it has that very good protein. So if people looking for the quality characteristics of a bread making wheat, CRUSOE would still be the variety of choice. Now moving on to the Group 2 wheats, and the one really to watch out for here is KWS EXTASE. EXTASE was available in small quantities last year and did sell out, and looking at how it's sat on the list this year, it's going to be extremely popular. It's got the highest untreated yield, it's got an 8.1 for Septoria, which is far superior to the majority of other varieties currently available. It's got good specific weight, good standing, and is going to be a popular one this year. What I would say with EXTASE is just be mindful on its drilling date. Ideally wouldn't be drilling till the first week in October onwards, just because it does have such a vigorous growth habit. On the other Group 2s, we do expect EXTASE to take the majority of the market share, but there are still KWS SISKIN and KWS LILI. KWS SISKIN still is looking tidy in terms of disease, maintaining that good resistance on the rust and a nice Septoria score, but EXTASE does have that stiffer strawed package. There's also LILI, which I'd argue is lagging behind slightly further. It is still doing well on light to land, but I think if you are looking for a step up, EXTASE would be the one to look for. Now onto the Group 3 biscuit wheats. Not hugely popular in the western part of the world, but there's two varieties in particular which will probably take up the biscuit wheat market. That's first of all FIREFLY. So FIREFLY, very good agronomics, a 7 for Septoria triticide, very good untreated yields, one of the stiffest strawed varieties currently available. What perhaps lets it down is its specific weight, which is just below that 76 mark, which might deter some people from growing it as an out-and-out feed wheat. But as a biscuit wheat, it's got very good characteristics. And then just the other biscuit wheat variety is Illicit. Do expect FIREFLY to be the variety of choice, but for those looking at spreading risk, Illicit is still stacking up as a go-to biscuit wheat choice. Now onto the Group 4 softs, and what we've noticed with Group 4 softs over the past few years, they do have a slight stigma against them. Traditionally, people looking for out-and-out yield, they'd look at the Group 4 hard wheats, but actually it's getting to a stage now where the Group 4 softs are out-yielding the majority of the varieties on the list. First of all, we've got LG SKYSCRAPER, which was newly recommended last year. It went straight under the highest yielding variety, and it is still the highest yielding variety available. Good straw, good strength, good straw length, good disease resistance, and perhaps its only Achilles heel is its Septoria hovering around that 5 mark. So there are better varieties to choose for Septoria resistance, but if you go back to the old motto, yield is king, SKYSCRAPER should have a place on farm. Then moving on to the other Lima grain stablemate, which was recommended last year, LG Spotlight. Doesn't quite have the headline yields of SKYSCRAPER, but it does have the benefits of being slightly stiffer strawed, and does have the better grain quality. Again, Septoria triticide resistance is similar, so something perhaps to watch out for, but besides that, it is still a high yielding Group 4 soft wheat. And then the other Group 4 soft wheat I'd like to highlight is RGT SAKI. So SAKI is new for this year. It's just 1% behind SKYSCRAPER in terms of yield, but but it's got a fantastic Septorius triticide score of 6.8, which is going to be a key trait to look out for, particularly with a loss of CTL. Besides that, it's also got a 7 and 8 for standing respectively, so stiff strawed, so should be one for growers to consider. Only things I potentially watch out for is a +3 for maturity, so it's slightly late when it comes to combining. And again, it's similar to Firefly, spec weight is just below that 76 mark. So in a difficult harvest, it's still to be seen how it would cope in terms of grain quality. Now onto the Group 4 hard wheats, and first of all, going to talk about Gleam, which was the most popular variety grown last year. With Septoria ratings, anything above a 6 is considered good, and unfortunately Gleam is in that ballpark. It's also got very good yields, and where it really comes into its own is its flexibility. So it can be drilled as a first or second wheat, early or late drilled, or on light and heavy land. So having that variety with that flexibility with a solid agronomic package is key. Then moving on to Graham, another variety from Syngenta, which was the third most popular variety grown last year. Where Graham has done particularly well is drilled as a first wheat from early September up to mid-October. It's just got a very good growth habit in that slot. Again, excellent Septoria score. It is actually stiffer strawed than Gleam, and a very high untreated yield. Now we're on to a new variety from Syngenta called SY which has gone on the recommended list as the highest yielding Group 4 hard wheat. It's got a fantastic Septoria score of a 6.6. Obviously it's got that yield package, good all-round disease resistance, but perhaps what's its one weakness is its straw strength. It's got a 6 for lodging without a PGR and a 7 for lodging with PGR. However, what I would say is with the PGR, it's showing the same straw strength as Gleam. So if someone's looking to drill in that October onward drill slot, it should be a variety to consider for this year, and it would be a step up on Chabras, which again is another variety from Syngenta, but in sight with that better agronomics, better yield, should be one to look at. Now we have KWS KERRIN. KERRIN as a variety has been popular. When it was first introduced to the recommended list a few years ago, it was the highest yielding feed wheat. What I would say though is its disease resistance is starting to fall by when you compare it to varieties such as EXTASE on Septoria, and such as Graham with its untreated yield. So it has been popular, but I would potentially argue there's stronger varieties to consider for this year. Now on to KWS Parkin. And Parkin, real shame last year, it didn't quite make the recommended list, and it arguably had all the traits which growers are looking for. So if it would have been recommended, it would have gone on as the earliest maturing, the stiffest strawed and the shortest strawed variety, which are all key traits. So those growers who traditionally like the Graftons of this world, Parkin may well be a replacement. You wouldn't necessarily be drilling Parkin as early as Grafton, not in that very early September slot, but mid-September onwards, and like I say, you've got the benefits of an early harvest with it. Another one from KWS, which is actually new for this year and did get on the recommended list, is KWS KINETIC. But has been limited uptake in KINETIC, because although it's got high yield and a very good specific weight, there has been question marks raised in its yellow rust, which we did see in abundance last year, and we probably attribute that to its parentage of being Reflection and KWS Silverstone. So if you can manage yellow rust, it might be a variety to go for, because it does have that grain quality and yield, but it may be just too much of a risk for some growers. Now RGT Gravity. So when it was introduced to the marketplace, it was the highest yielding variety in every single slot, whether it was first wheat, second wheat, light land, heavy land. It did really have that headline yield package. Unfortunately, its agronomics seem to have just slipped back in line with where some of the other varieties are. So for example, Gleam's come on with a superior Septoria score and seems to be slightly better on the rusts, but no, those who like Gravity, we do still expect there to be some demand this year, so yeah, good variety, but there perhaps are better ones to consider now. Then we have Costello. Costello is falling back in terms of yield, so you compare where it is to Skyscraper, the highest yielding wheat, it is now 6% behind. You think that would be a stumbling block as to why not to grow it, but actually you look at the rest of its traits, it's got a fantastic disease package, but what is really unique about it is its grain quality. Having a specific weight above an 80 on the recommended list is far superior to anything else which is currently available. And on a difficult harvest year, and it remains to be seen whether this could be one, it will really stand out. So for those looking for a farmer-friendly variety, relatively low risk, Costello should be one to consider. A variety similar to Costello, which fell into that low risk category, would be Dunstan. So when it was introduced, it did have the highest untreated yield, good Septoria scores. It was the tallest strawed variety, but also had one of the best straw strengths. But unfortunately, what we are seeing with Dunstan this year is it is starting to break down to yellow rust. Again, similar to the KINETICs and KERRINs of this world, yellow rust is manageable, but it's just whether you'd ideally want to go for a variety slightly better just to mitigate risk. But no, for those particularly on mixed farms where they value the straw, Dunstan could be one to consider still. So just to summarise there, Group 1's not a lot of difference with where we have been previously. It will still be Zayat, SKYFALL and CRUSOE. Looking at feed wheats, I think EXTASE is going to be hugely popular just on that agronomic package. So although it's a Group 2, there'll be a lot of people looking at it in a feed wheat situation, particularly with the loss of CTL. Similarly to last year, I expect Graham and Gleam to be very popular. And for those wanting to try new varieties, SAKI and Insighter do look to have tidy packages, so should be ones to consider.